If you guys want the Ravens to beat the Bengals this week, then like the video or else. All I'm saying is this. Since we started having you guys like the video if you want your favorite team to win, the Ravens just so happen to have won 5 straight games. I'm not saying if you don't like the video that you're going to end up losing, but let's keep the positive vibes going. If you want the Ravens to beat the Bengals, which we're about to preview momentarily, like the video right now. Let's preview this week's game then, plus an injury report on the Ravens finalized entering Sunday's game. It is an AFC North showdown as the Ravens play host to the Cincinnati Bengals, who, by the way, look like a much better football team than the one the Ravens have seen in the past couple of seasons. Ravens are 5-1, but the Bengals, as weird as this might sound, are actually, for now at least, the number 2 team in the AFC North. They are 4-2. The Ravens have the number 7 scoring offense and the number 7 scoring defense. The Bengals, meanwhile, only 11th in scoring offense, but they've actually got a top 10 defense so far this year, although the schedule is about to get much, much more challenging for Cincinnati, beginning with this game on the road against Baltimore, who is a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under leaning towards a little bit lower, 46.5, which I am mostly inclined to agree with. Now, in the last 5 games, the Ravens have been on fire. A 36-35 win over Kansas City. A miracle 19-17 win over the Detroit Lions. A 23-7 blowout win to an extent over the Broncos. A crazy game against the Colts, 31-25. And then perhaps most impressively, they hammered the LA Chargers, 34-36. The Bengals, after a Week 1 win, have been okay. A loss against the Bears and Packers, but only by a combined 6 points. Although they also barely beat the Jags by 3, beat a I don't think that good Steelers football team, and blew out a Lions team 34-11. In the last 5 meetings of these two teams, it hasn't really been all that close. Ravens 38-3 last time, then 27-3. Baltimore has won 5 straight games with Lamar Jackson over the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, to be fair, this is a much different and I'd argue better Bengals team than what we saw in that last meeting when the Bengals were just decimated on really both sides of the ball. Probably a bit more like those earlier matchups right there, a 24-21, 23-17 win for Baltimore. In the end, though, Baltimore has a 6.5-point favorite. Now, the over-under set, as I mentioned, at 46.5. So with that in mind, I want you guys to reply to today's pinned comment with your score prediction for Ravens-Bengals. I assume you're pretty much all going to take Baltimore since this is a Ravens channel. But if you get it with the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and predict the score of this week's game. Let's hit the injury report now for Baltimore. 2 players who we'll spend some more time on have been declared out. Latavius Murray with an ankle and Sammy Watkins with a thigh. Not a massive surprise there. 4 players, meanwhile, are ruled as questionable. There's Bradley Bozeman, the center, with a back. Patrick Queen, a thigh. Alejandro Villanueva and Tavon Young with knees. I'll make note, though, right off the top here, there is no more probable designation. All these guys had been limited at Thursday's practice. So, look, we'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll see what happens for game day. As a gambling man, I would lean a little bit more towards those guys, those other 4 guys, being out there for Baltimore, especially Villanueva, which they need because, that Ravens O-line is a bit thin. Let's go back now to Sammy Watkins, ruled out against the Bengals with that thigh injury. It's not necessarily the end of the world for the Ravens to not have Watkins out there. And I think part of that is because they are getting healthier at wide receiver overall with Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin both back. Plus, Marquise Brown is receiver number 1. With Watkins out, it's probably for the most part going to be Brown and Bateman on the outside. You can still utilize Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, hell, even Tylan Wallace some if you want in the slot. But I think in the end, this means a bigger role for Bateman. And after he caught 4 passes for 29 yards last week with no Watkins out there, I am excited to see what Bateman does this week. I assume the Bengals will have Chidobe Awuzie covering Marquise Brown, which means Bateman could have a very favorable matchup. I lean myself towards yes on this question. I think Bateman has a breakout game, but I want to hear from you guys too in the comments. Type your votes for me right now. It's Y for yes, Rashad Bateman's breakout game comes this week, or N for no, it does not. Meanwhile, Latavius Murray out versus the Bengals because of that ankle injury that he suffered late in last week's, or mid-ish in last week's game. He had been this team's number one back. So with Murray now ruled out, it will be a three-man rotation committee, whatever phrase you want to use there, between Tyson Williams, Le'Veon Bell, recently promoted to the game day active roster, and Devonta Freeman, who so far they've been a bit inconsistent in terms of who's been the best, who's been number one, who's been two. I wonder if Murray being out and Williams being active means that he will finally be freed a little bit more. But outside of 2 long runs for Devonta Freeman, Williams has been, I think, the most consistent and most impressive pure runner. There's more that goes into that in terms of why he's been playing so much on this Ravens roster. So who will be RB1 against the Bengals? Type W for Tyson Williams, type B for Le'Veon Bell, or type F for Devonta Freeman. Now, there will be some fun prop bets available this week on BetUS, and you can get a 125% deposit bonus when you go to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see on screen. That is chat125. If you don't know what to bet on beyond Ravens to win, I got a suggestion for you guys. Maybe put $5 or $10 on Lamar Jackson, who we'll get to more in depth as it relates to this week's game in a second, to win NFL MVP. He's plus 900. That's some pretty darn good return on your investment. And if you use promo code chat125 at chatsports.com/bet, even if you don't hit that bet on Lamar, as long as you put down at least $100, there's still plenty of money left over for you guys to bet with. So head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code you see. It's chat125. All right, as promised, more now on Lamar Jackson, who has really been the focal point, the linchpin, the driver, whatever fun word you want to use, of this Ravens offense. Completion is up this year, 67.5%. The yards, almost to 1,700. And the touchdown interceptions don't look great, 9-5. I think that is a bit deceptive as to just how good Lamar has been this year. Without him, this Ravens offense does not really have anything going on whatsoever. He's also been, again, their leading rusher, 64 carries, 392 yards, 2 scores as well. Average a bit lower than what he's accustomed to, but it's still 6 yards per carry. It's still really good. On the other side, the Bengals offense is a much improved unit. Joe Burrow, 14 touchdowns, 7 INTs. Not a perfect ratio, but he's shown a lot of ability, a lot of promise. And although his yards are behind Lamar Jackson, he does look like another talented young player for this AFC North. His favorite target, of course, has been Jamar Chase, as that LSU, the Bayou Bengals connection, translates over to the Cincinnati Bengals connection, because this has been a dynamic 1-2 punch. Jamar Chase's vertical ability is going to be a problem for the Ravens. Yes, they have Marlon Humphrey, but they're still going to need a little bit more in terms of stopping a player who, production-wise, is in the top 5 among receivers so far this year. If you guys haven't already, hit that big red button, guys. Let's subscribe. We're not yet to 2,000 subscribers, still behind our Steelers channel, still behind our Browns channel. It is a meritocracy here at Chat Sports. The more subscribers we have, the more videos you guys get on or for that team. So if you haven't already and you want them for free, hit the big red button right now. Let's talk about the Bengals offensive line against the Ravens pass rush. This Bengals O-line unit is better than what was memed last year. Jonah Williams has been healthy. He's played well. Quinton Spain's actually been a starting caliber guard. Not elite, but starting caliber. Trey Hopkins is fine at center. Riley Reif's been good when healthy. The issue is Jackson Carman has not been great. I think it's the interior of the offensive line that can get beat a little bit more frequently, and especially when the Bengals go empty, i.e. no back or tight end attached necessarily, or at least I should say no back in the backfield. The O-line's had issues, and I'm looking at right guard Jackson Carman. I've got him circled, and I'm going to try and get him matched up against Calais Campbell. This Ravens pass rush is very good. Odafe always been fantastic for a first-year player. We know how impactful Calais Campbell is almost game in and game out. Tyus Bowser is a promising young player as well. And although Campbell has 0 sacks this year, his pressure, his impact, his run stopping has still been felt in the film, in the tackle for loss stat sheet, even if not in the sack category. I think that changes me, whether it is Campbell beating up one of those Bengals interior O-linemen, or maybe even just an outright missed assignment if the Bengals go empty since they've had issues there. I think Calais Campbell gets a sack at long last this week for the Ravens, giving them at least 1 on the year. And I want you guys to make your predictions as well. Does Campbell get a sack against the Bengals? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Of course, I would not leave without giving you guys my score prediction. Give me the Ravens at home this week against the Bengals, 27-20. Cincinnati could announce themselves as a legit contender with a win this week, but I'm honestly not sure if they're quite there yet. So give me Baltimore, who's played some close games, as have the Bengals. I even got them covering the spread. Final score, Ravens win 27-20.